Welcome to Fine Tuning with Drew Taylor, your one-stop shop when it comes to animation news and commentary. I'm Drew's co-host, entertainment writer Jim Hill, and he and I are recording the show on Thursday, April 2nd. And, okay, look, folks.
Are you okay, Jim? Are you okay?
Yes, I'm in perfect health, if you're asking. But look, the COVID bad news train continues to roll on. Literally, and within the hour before Drew and I began recording this episode, the Walt Disney Company released a statement. Do you want to read the joyous news?
Oh, sure.
Drew,
okay.
Okay.
The COVID-19 pandemic is having a devastating impact on our world with untold suffering and loss, and has required all of us to make sacrifices. Over the last few weeks, mandatory decrees from government officials have shut down a majority of our businesses. Disney employees have received full pay and benefits during this time, and we've committed to paying them through April 18th for a total of 5 additional weeks of compensation. However, with no clear indication of when we can restart our businesses, we're forced to make the difficult decision to take the next step and furlough employees whose jobs aren't necessary at this time. The furlough process will begin on April 19th, and all impacted workers will remain Disney employees through the duration of the furlough period. They will receive full health care benefits, plus the cost of employee and company premiums will be paid by Disney, and those enrolled in Disney Aspire will have continued access to the education program. Additionally, employees with available paid time off can elect to use some or all of it at the start of the furlough period, and once furloughed, they are eligible to receive an extra $600 per week in federal compensation through the $2 trillion economic stimulus bill, as well as state unemployment insurance.
Okay.
Not great.
So let me, also share what one of our listeners, cast member at Walt Disney World, put out, via Twitter. And it kind of sucks that they found out about this through a press release as opposed to reaching out to the cast members first. But it's like, what are you going to do? This is a situation where there really isn't a good move. Also, to be clear here, just last Friday, we got that announcement about Disney executives taking pay cuts. I mean, Bob Iger gave up his whole salary for the year. Bob Chapek took a 50% pay cut. And then depending on what level you're within the company, it's a 30% cut, a 25% cut, a 20% cut. And I guess I should also point out here something that Len just tweeted, that it's like, okay, now in the middle of that is that they will continue to get full health care benefits. So, that's a bit of good news. But this still sucks, Oh,
yeah.
There are no two ways around it. That's the thing of this pandemic, is that it's impacting millions of people, but at the same time, you can't forget the individuals. And just today, we found out about veteran voice actress Julie Bennett. She was 88 and just passed away from COVID-19. And it's kind of ironic. Julie actually started working at the very same studio that June Foray really made her name at, J. Ward Productions. She was a voice performer for the Fractured Fairy Tale segment on the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. And based on how well she did there, the folks at Hanna-Barbera hired her, and she went over there to do Yogi's girlfriend Cindy on the Yogi Bear show. And she reprised that role in the 64 theatrical release that Hanna-Barbera did, Hey, There's Yogi Bear. And I think her most recent voice work was back in 97 when she was Peter Parker's Aunt May on Spider-Man the Animated Series. And not in June Foray's class, but still a solid performer that a lot of people loved, especially those who worked with Julie after she kind of put her animation work behind her and became a personal manager. Let's see, she worked under the name of Marina Daniels while she did that. But on behalf of Drew and myself, our heartfelt condolences go out to Julie Bennett's friends and family at their time of sorrow. And this personally makes me sad because as a small boy, I watched way too much Yogi Bear. And I think that Hey There, Yogi Bear may have been the second or third or animated feature I saw theatrically. The Sword in the Stone was the first. What was your first animated feature, Drew?
I don't know. I mean, I remember Sword of the Stone growing up. I mean, it was probably Oliver and Company. Is that making me sound really young? I actually rewatched a little bit of it on Disney Plus this past week, and woo boy, that is not a good movie. But
Well, not, well, Pretty isn't easy. I think that still holds up. I mean, or at the very least, you can't miss that CG staircase.
yes. Well, I actually really like the Huey Lewis song that opens it. Once Upon a Time in New York City.
That, I think, if the entire film were that strong, I don't think there'd be an issue. But again, it's in a weird sort of way, it's an important movie because this is the one where Jeffrey Katzenberg fell in love with animation.
Yeah.
And
I feel like it was also very important because it kind of established that Disney animation was willing to take risks. It was willing to be hip. Mm-hmm. That was the first movie that had stars that actually appealed to audiences of the day. Not that Bob Newhart was not lighting the world on fire in 1990, but you know what I mean. It's like Bette Midler, and it was a big movie. I don't know whose idea it was to make Oliver Twist with dogs in New York City, but
that was Jeffrey.
Was it Jeffrey? Okay.
Yeah. Or at least he was the one when they brought it into the pitch. It was like, oh, okay, all right, this one, yes, but
it did not get gonged, is what you were saying.
No, it did not. So, as long as we're talking about theatrical releases. Okay, so, God, just trying to keep track of what's moving where these days is so crazy. Okay, so you were the one pointing out that the significance of Minions: The Rise of Gru basically getting its release date pushed back was because, this was the first animated feature that just could not be finished.
Yeah.
Illuminations Entertainment, the studio is based in France, and it was just like, I'm sorry, we're locked down. We can't get the guys there. So that release date, which was supposed to be July 2nd of this year, that's the thing. It's all dominoes that, it's a way that's affected Sing 2, which was supposed to come out next year on July 2nd.
So now Minions is taking Sing's place next summer.
That's right. And Sing then gets pushed off till December 22nd, 2021, which may be good news because the original Sing came out December 21st, 2016, only cost $75 million to make, and then went on to sell $634 million worth of tickets worldwide. So have to say, and again, personal confession, I find I circle back on Sing a lot, especially I love that scene from the movie, the sequence with Mina, the teenage elephant. There's that wonderful sequence where she's singing the Stevie Wonder song, "Don't You Worry About a Thing." And
is that when all the walls come down? And
yes, it's a great bit out of the movie. But
yeah,
but
you know what I was thinking about is, are there gonna be 2 Super Bowls in a row where we see previews for the same movies coming out? It is just it's such a weird time, and the debut of the Minions trailer was the Super Bowl, and it's like, it's going to be an entire another year before it happens. I
think that the one thing that won't be showing up there, or at least we hope. Now, they just pushed Top Gun Maverick to Christmas of this year, right?
Yes, I'm currently in mourning, Jim.
Face it, Universal's in for a tough year. They had to push off Fast and Furious 9 to next year. They've had to push off Minions: Rise of Gru, and those were 2 huge tentpoles in their schedule.
Those were potential billion-dollar-plus movies.
That's it, exactly. And on the other hand, if we pivot over to Paramount, look, the SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run, was not going to be a billion-dollar earner, but it was supposed to set up Kamp Koral, SpongeBob's Under Years, which that was supposed to debut on Nick in July of this year, right? So
yeah.
And now
I was thinking about this too. Yeah, what's gonna happen? Because what's the new date for this one?
Well, that's the thing. They've just pushed Sponge on the Run back to July 31st. So how can you do the movie that sets up the series if the series was supposed to, debut in early July? So
also, I think that the July dates are going to start vacating soon, too. I think that's an overly optimistic release dates.
No, dude, you're not wrong. And you have to wonder, given the films that have moved just in the last couple of days, what's going on in Emeryville. I mean, it's one thing, we're just a day away from, Onward making its debut on Disney Plus. But how would you like to be Pete Docter and, having put all that sweat and toil into Soul? And now they're still standing fast on the June 19th date. I think
it's psychotic. I don't know what that's about.
Well, but the weird part of it is I was talking with somebody at Disney about this, and they said, look, okay, yes, the parks, they released that statement that, the stateside parks, and in fact, also France, did this as well, that closed indefinitely, closed till further notice. But on the other hand, again, if you go to the Disney World reservation page, they have that message up that says that they are accepting reservations for starting on June 1st. So there's at least somebody.
Insane. It's insane. Who is going to want to go, too? That's the other thing. It's like, cram all those people in there. Because, the other thing is like with the Chinese theaters we were talking about, they open them and then they close them again very quickly. And now there are reports that there are new outbreaks blossoming in Asia because of foreign travelers that were finally allowed back into the countries. So, for an international destination, it's going to be really hard to figure that out. So...
Well, in fact, it's so funny you mention this because we've talked previously about my daughter Alice, and she had booked her dream trip to Japan. And, and just last night I was talking with her about, hey, they're talking about Japan seems to have its act together and it looks like they're going to be one of the first countries to reopen. And she's like, Dad, I'm a foreign traveler. The country is reopening for nationals. But on the other hand, if you're a foreign traveler coming to Japan, you have to do the automatic 14-day self-isolate, sit in quarantine. And she says, my trip is 14 days long. So, it's like, oh, good. I could spend all 14 days in an authentic Japanese holding pen. So,
yeah, I mean, that was where our honeymoon was supposed to be this year. And that's not happening, Jim.
I'm so sorry. But
it's fine.
Well, at least Alice got trip insurance, so she can hopefully recover the money she put out and then get the chance to go back there if when we get to go back there. All right, I need good news. Talking about everything canceled, changed, shifted around, that sort of thing. So, Rick and Morty, did you see the trailer?
I loved it. I thought it was great. Well, I was actually a big fan of these first 5 episodes. I know some people weren't, but that snake episode, Jim, I was laughing.
Well, I have to admit, there was one particular line out of this trailer that really resonates today. It's the exchange where Morty's saying, I hate this. I hate all of this. And Rick says, yeah, keep that feedback coming, Morty. It can only help. It's just... I feel like that should be on a T-shirt for everybody dealing with COVID today. Right. On the other hand, the other trailer I just watched for J.J. Villard's Fairy Tales, which that's going to debut on Adult Swim the week after.
Right.
The second half of Rick and Morty. Oh, by the way, Rick and Morty comes back on Sunday, May 3rd, starting 11:30, whereas J.J. Villard's Fairy Tales debuts the week following on May 10th at 12:15 p.m. What did we think of this trailer?
It was crazy, Jim. Yeah. It was really, really crazy. I don't know what to think of it. It's kind of a smart-ass, violent version of the Grimm's fairy tales, and woo! It's a lot.
Did you see the voice cast though for this thing? They've got Linda Blair from The Exorcist. They've got Warwick Davis, but not the cuddly, Ewok Warwick Davis, the Warwick Davis who did Leprechaun. Nightmare Before Elm Street's Robert Englund, Lost Boys Corey Feldman, and finally Jennifer Tilly from Bride of Chucky. I mean, if you're a horror fan, this is a must-watch show. But and I'm going to sound like such a wimp for saying this, but I watched this trailer, and again, you're great animation style, appreciate the craft, strong writing, but I kind of group this with Mr. Pickles. There are just some things.
The psychotic dog that kills people.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are just some things I don't need to see right before bed.
Right. Now you know how Nancy feels, Jim. Jesus, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay. I suddenly move into the Dan Z category. I'm low-hanging fruit, folks. I'm an easy target. Well, look, I apologize. I will sample J.J. Villard's fairy tales and hope it's not a border collie drawing pentagrams in blood. But on the other hand, the other thing that Adult Swim just put out, and again, this is kind of related to all of us being trapped at home in quarantine, but they just made it possible. They unlocked all of the episodes of Samurai Jack.
Yeah, not just the Adult Swim ones, but the entire seasons, the ones that were on Cartoon Network. So yeah,
that makes me happy. I mean, and look, I know that means I'm a hypocrite because Samurai Jack is violent, but it's Gennady. Did I get that right? Gennady?
Yes.
Okay. I got a note about that. So I want to make sure I pronounce the name right. But it's Gennady Tartakovsky violence. I mean, it's beautifully staged. It's wonderful designed. And yes, people get their heads cut off, but it's Gennady.
Right.
Let's see, what else? Yeah, to be honest, we really should have seen the Disney cast member furlough thing coming because what was it? They just announced they first rehired and then furloughed the crew that's over in London working on Disney's live action Little Mermaid.
Oh, is that what happened? Did you see the set photos of Prince Eric's ship?
No. No.
Yeah, they had constructed the entire ship. And I mean, we're talking about a huge, like a true to scale ship. And what they had done was they had sort of blocked it off with these giant shipping containers that they just stacked on all sides of the ship. And then you could see that they were going to put a blue tarp over that to simulate the green screen or the blue screen. So, I mean, sets are built, Jim. They're out there in the British air. So I don't know what they're going to do.
Well, according to this hire and then furlough thing, it was supposed to, I guess the UK has its own version of the stimulus program. They have a job retention. In fact, I love this. It's a job retention scheme. Not a plan. It's a scheme.
Boy, we got a scheme over here, Governor. Going to retain these workers. Yeah, we are.
Well, anyway, according to this scheme, the crew members will receive 80% of their pay up to a maximum of $3,100 per month. And now the furlough is only supposed to last through the end of May, which is when they're hoping that they can begin shooting again. Oh, now I got to go chase down that picture. That sounds fascinating.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Again, no a lot of bad news, folks, but when you get back to the break, I promise some good news.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Healthcare professionals can lead their careers with LinkedIn. Discover jobs by specialty, preferred shifts, and even desired salary. From mental health therapists to radiology technicians, it's now faster and easier for healthcare professionals to find the right fit. Learn more at linkedin.com/healthcare. Side effects may include faster job placement, improved work-life balance, and increased career satisfaction.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana.
Okay, we're back. And first of all, Drew, we have the most wonderful listeners. And remember how last week you and I were talking about the Muppets? And in particular, we were wondering what became of season 4 and season 5 of the DVD sets.
Yes.
Okay.
Which they announced at one point.
They did.
Yeah.
And, well, this is the thing. And I can't get into specifics about who shared this information. Right. And I will need to do a little editing as I read this, but okay. Hi, Drew and Jim. I just listened to your newest podcast, and in it, you guys were talking about how later seasons of The Muppet Show were never released. Well, I don't work at Disney, but I am, cut out that part.
Right.
Funny enough, right before we were told to go work from home for the rest of our lives, I was talking with a coworker and inquiring why seasons 4 and season 5 were never released. What I was told and believed to be true is that it's a case of how the Wonder Years couldn't be released for a long time for people to watch. It's all tied up in music rights, or rather tied up in the lack of music rights. There's quite a bit of music that the company failed to get the rights to beyond that decade. And there's quite a few musicians that are now gone and aren't around to give those rights. And it's become much more expensive to acquire them. So we now sort of have an answer, and what a surprise, it's money.
Yes. Well, I implore everyone to read my Vanity Fair article that I wrote about this last week, which is why we were talking about this in the first place. Speaking
of which, did you see what Josh Gad put on Twitter like a day or so ago?
I saw that Brian Lynch put up a script for a Muppet movie from 1999. Mm-hmm. Did you see that?
Well, I saw that
next Muppet movie.
Now he put up just a couple of pages. Did he?
Yes.
But the interesting,
no, he didn't put up the whole thing. Yeah.
But the interesting is Josh put up a full scene from
Muppets Never Say Die?
Yeah. Or Muppets Live Another Day.
Muppets Live Another Day.
Yeah, whatever it's called. But it was this wonderful scene where Rolf is in Steve Martin's apartment and Steve Martin is breaking it gently that, the studio, evidently the show that all the Muppets were in on Broadway has stopped running. And so, but Rolf is counting. He's like, okay, well, don't worry. I've got a gig lined up. I'm appearing with Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, and Martin Short in the four Amigos. And this is the scene where, Steve first brings Rolf a bowl of milk and then proceeds to tell him the studios tell them that they've cut the budget for the four Amigos. And Rolf's like, oh my God, that's so terrible. Who's going to tell Martin Short? And it's... But yeah.
Yes, that was one of my... I read that script. I think I can say... I can't say how I read it or who gave it to me, but I've read the script, and that was one of my favorite parts. Oh. It really... It integrated celebrities from the time in a way that's relevant to modern audiences, and yeah, the script was amazing. The show is going to be absolutely incredible. So yeah, I wish they would have made it. But
but the interesting thing, Josh was proposing that to raise charity for folks who've been infected by the pandemic, that they should get celebrities together to read the script.
Yes. I saw that. That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. I would get behind that 1,200%. I would, and more to the point, having read just read this one little scene, it's like, I so want to read the rest of this. It sounds like it would have been amazing. It's such a wonderful sort of calling card for this project. It just sort of hints that it could have been really fun. But speaking of stuff that I hope is going to be hugely fun. First of all, I have to, again, share something that happened on Twitter just a day or so ago. And first of all, there's this young lady called Hallie Reagan, and she decides to tweet out day one of tweeting until Ryan Reynolds answers. And 1 minute later, Drew, Ryan Reynolds responds, and he says, nailed it at minute one. Congratulations, and now go wash your hands. Which... That may be my favorite celebrity. The only, in fact, oddly enough, to circle back to Steve Martin, have you heard if you go up to Steve Martin and you ask him for an autograph, what he does?
No.
Oh, this honestly is my favorite idea of a celebrity, how you handle members of the public. And what Steve Martin does is he says, I don't do autographs, but I will give you this. And he opens his wallet, he pulls out a business card. And the business card actually says, this is to certify that you actually met Steve Martin and it was a kind, sensitive, warm person. And, so it's like, you can show that to your friends. And, just...
That is hilarious.
I love that. I love that. But anyway, yes, Ryan Reynolds is in the news this week because news just broke that Ryan is in talks with Netflix to star in a live-action version of Dragon Slayer, a popular 80s video game. And, boy.
It was recently referenced in Stranger Things.
What's it? Oh, God, yeah. You're right. They were at the... Yeah, in fact, wasn't that when the younger brother walked outside and
saw the upside down all coming down? Yeah.
Okay. I don't game, folks. I've never gamed. I lack the hand-eye coordination for asteroids. Pong utterly defeated me. But I would go in the 80s to the arcade and watch friends play Dragon's Lair because I was a fan of Don Bluth's animation. I was one of the people on opening day who went out to theaters to see Secret of NIMH. And it still holds up today. I mean, beautiful animation and an attempt at like Star Wars level action.
Yeah.
But, it cost $7 million to make, and it only sold $14.7 million worth of tickets that summer. And you can remember, Don Bluth walked out the door from Disney in 79, and I'm bringing back classic animation, and I'm taking a third of the staff with me. And so by the late summer, early fall of 1982, I mean, Don had already started work. His team was already developing a follow-up to NIMH, East of the Sun, West of the Moon? But, because NIMH did so poorly at the box office, the funding for East of the Sun almost immediately dried up, and Don Bluth Productions was then forced to declare bankruptcy. But, as they're kind of regrouping, all right, what are we doing now? Here comes Rick Dyer, the president of Advanced Microcomputer Systems, and he had just seen Secret of NIMH and loved its rich, detailed, colorful, highly detailed animation. And he thinks it's just the element the game he's been developing, Dragon Lair, needs. And Bluth, who really, there are no other offers on the table. It's just sort of like, okay, sure, let's do this. But then Drew, it's this ridiculous time crunch. I mean, first of all, it's a ridiculously low budget. They only had $1.3 million to animate, I want to say, a full hour of colorful animation, feature quality. And then Dragon's Lair, Dyer had made promises that it would be available in arcades in July, the following year. So literally it's a year and like 2 weeks after Secret of NIMH. The Dragon's Lair needs to be in arcades around the country, but they do it. They pull it off. Mind you, I'm sure you've heard the stories about Princess Daphne, that if you have the right issue of Playboy from 1982, you can figure out who they based her on.
She's pretty sexy.
She is pretty sexy. Well, it was, again, the idea was this game was supposed to appeal to teenage boys. So that was the reference. They couldn't afford a model, so they literally tore pages out of, issues from 82, and a lot of the key poses for the animation are basically shots out of specific issues of Penthouse from that year. But Dragon Lair's come out, is a smash hit, and Bluth decides to double down. They're going to do a follow-up to Dragon's Lair. They do Space Ace. You familiar with this one, Drew?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of the same thing. I mean, the characters look very similar.
They do. They do.
But I was going to tell you, why part of the reason why it was such a hit was that it was one of the first two-quarter video game experiences ever. Mm-hmm. And from what I understand, it was not the most interactive game. I mean, you sort of could memorize the buttons and get through it pretty quickly. But yeah, it was just such an expensive thing to do that it was 50 cents a shot, which was unheard of at the time.
It was.
Yeah.
And that was I think the thing that kind of tripped up Space Ace, because I think for a lot of people in the arcades, when they saw, there's a game similar to Dragon's Lair, it's like, wow, it's similar. It's really similar. It's like the exact same thing. That didn't do nearly as well, and they rushed that out into arcades. I think that made it out April of 84. So that's, 9 months after Dragon's Lair?
Yeah.
And so Dyer and Bluth are looking at the returns from the Space Ace machines, like, okay, all right, regroup. Let's do a direct sequel to Dragon's Lair, and so they start working on Dragon's Lair 2, Time Warp. And it's just about this time, I guess it's the actual summer of 84 that the bottom falls out of the arcade business. I don't, for the life of me, understand why. Maybe too many 50-cent games?
I don't know. I mean, I I saw this really great when I was doing research for this episode. It was a commercial for Showbiz Pizza. And the entire commercial was just about Dragon's Lair. It was not even about the pizza. It was like, come on in.
Really?
And play. Yeah, it was really cool.
Okay.
It was very 80s in the best possible way.
Okay. I don't know why, but of course we're talking about the Dragon's Lair movie. What became of the Five Nights at Freddy's movies?
Wasn't Chris Columbus was working on that, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard anything about it.
Okay. Well, anyway, I get back. Okay, arcade businesses has collapsed, and here's Bluth, sort of once again teetering on the edge and thinking about bankruptcy. But out of the blue, he gets a call from Steven Spielberg, and he had just seen Secret of NIMH. And, it was just going on to Bluth about the amazing animation. He hadn't seen anything this good since Pinocchio. And did you want to come over? Maybe we could do lunch and talk about collaborating. And it's funny you talk about Oliver and Company. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Oliver and Company went head to head with the second Spielberg Bluth collaboration, right? A Land Before Time, didn't it?
Yes. Yeah, was that? Yeah, that was the second one after American Tail.
Okay. And wasn't the deal that Disney was kind of humiliated by the fact when American Tail came out in November, here's a movie with a mouse in it, it surpassed the box office of The Great Mouse Detective? Am I getting that right?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. The thing that absolutely fascinates me about this, in fact, you can go online right now, folks, and if you Google Don Bluth exposure sheet, this was, by the way, the official newsletter of the Don Bluth Animation Club, not fan club, Animation Club. The cover story for the fall of 1984 issue is the version of Beauty and the Beast that Don Bluth is developing with the telepathic dog. I think we've talked about this previously, Drew.
No, we have not, Jim. But I think we need to. maybe that will be the feature next week.
Okay. All right. We'll circle back on that. But before we close out here, again talking about Don Bluth and animation, it was one of these things that wait a minute. We got this Ryan Reynolds film that live action thing Netflix is working on, but didn't Don supposedly get? Or wasn't Don working on a full-length animated version of Dragon's Lair?
Oh, yes, he was, Jim. Yeah, it was called Dragon's Lair Returns. Mm-hmm. It was supposed to be a feature-length movie. It was on Indiegogo. Mm-hmm. It wound up on Indiegogo. Okay. And he ended up getting $730,000 to do this, and we have not seen anything. This was back in January of 2016. Mm. And supposedly the rights negotiations for the Netflix Ryan Reynolds movie took over a year to complete. Mm-hmm. So I have no idea what was going on.
Face it, Netflix has a fairly robust animation program going on. In fact, trailer for the Willoughbys just dropped. That looks interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe, it's somewhere amid the rights there. Oh, wait a minute. No, is the Ryan Reynolds thing supposed to be a prequel? Do we know anything about that?
We don't know anything about the story. No. And it'll be interesting to see how they stretch this thing out to feature length. Although, we didn't talk about the incredibly terrible Saturday morning TV show that they made.
This is true. That was truly awful. But on the other hand, who knows when we're going to see Free Guy, but that's, Ryan Reynolds in the gaming world. And now here is, Ryan Reynolds once again playing somebody from gaming. But I got to say, if I were picking an actor working today to play Dirk the Daring, Ryan, you get it in one. It's just sort of like literally, that's the guy.
It's literally perfect casting. Yeah.
So now it's off to find Daphne. I don't want to be in the casting room for that one. Anyway, all right. So I guess to pivot now to, again, other podcasts like the wonderful Light the Fuse podcast that Drew does. By the way, congratulations on your movie thing last night.
Wasn't that crazy?
Well, how nuts was it to have the director, Chris McQuarrie, suddenly pop in?
We did a live watch, which all the tweets are still up for Mission Impossible Fallout. Yep. And I get this message from Chris McQuarrie, and he goes, "Listen, I can't sleep, so I'm watching your live thing, I'll take 10 questions from people. Oh. So it was so crazy because then I was like, how about this question? Is this too spoilery? You know, because people are very excited about 7 and 8, obviously.
Yeah.
But we did not plan that. He did not sign off on it ahead of time. It was just like the most fortuitous, you know, experience, and it added a lot, I think. So yeah.
Well, seriously, folks, if you are not already listening to Light the Fuse, you are missing so many great stories, so much entertainment. That should be appointment listening. And by the way, what's coming next?
Oh, God. Well, this week we talked to Liz Hannah, who is the Oscar-nominated screenwriter of The Post and wrote for Mindhunter Season 2. And we just had her on to talk about why she loves Rogue Nation. So that was really fun. And then tomorrow we're talking to Dan Mindell, the great cinematographer who shot Star Trek, Star Wars, John Carter. He worked with Tony Scott a lot before he died. And so we have some big stuff coming, Jim.
Oh, man.
So, yeah.
Very entertaining stuff, well worth listening to while we're all stuck in our houses.
Yes, correct.
And you know, we have some stuff you might want to listen to over at the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network. We've got Disney-ish with Len Testo. We've got Marvelous Disney, which I do with Aaron Adams, the gentleman who edits a lot of the podcasts here at the network. Universal Joy with Dustin Fuse. In fact, he and I really need to get a new one of those going. Looking at Lucasfilm with Dan Z. By the way, Dan says hi. I Want That with Michelle Valladolid, which, God, we're going to talk about all the stuff you can get from Easter from DisneyShopping.com.
Shop Disney.
ShopDisney.com.
And we should tell everybody that you can watch Onward now on Disney Plus.
This is true. This is true. And again, what better way to watch that film than with sitting with the Art of Onward in your lap?
Yeah, I think that they're actually some of the deleted scenes and stuff. They're going to have special features on the Disney Plus version. So,
okay.
Yes,
all right.
Everything that we talked about in the book and on this podcast, you'll be able to see in motion.
Cool. All right.
Soon. So, yeah.
And speaking of podcasts, folks, I know we've been teasing this. If we do not start recording this weekend, Drew is going to bury me in the backyard. So,
Never.
Okay, bury me in the front yard. So the show we've been talking about will be out shortly. Trust me, and it will be cool. And yes. I guess for now, that will do it. So thanks for listening. And Drew and I will be back with hopefully less depressing news next week.